It had been years since the nuclear bombs had fallen, decimating the world and leaving only a few survivors. Among those survivors were 3 groups, each with their own unique story of survival. The first group was a nuclear-powered submarine, built by the government as a last resort in case of a nuclear war. The submarine had been submerged in the ocean for months prior to the bombs dropping, and its advanced technology allowed it to avoid the major and minor effects of the nuclear fallout. The crew on board, led by Captain Jameson, had been chosen for their skills and abilities to withstand the harsh conditions of living underwater. As they surfaced to assess the damage, they were horrified to see the world they once knew was now a desolate wasteland. The crew quickly realized that they were one of the few remaining pockets of humanity and that they needed to find a way to survive. With their advanced technology, they were able to scan the surrounding area for any signs of life and resources. They also discovered that their submarine was equipped with a garden and a water filtration system, providing them with a sustainable source of food and water. The second group was a Vault from Vault Tech, a company known for building underground shelters to protect people from nuclear war. The vault, known as Vault 112, was designed to hold 200 people and was equipped with all the necessary resources for survival. However, the overseer of the vault, Dr. Rachel Morgan, rebelled against the unethical tests that Vault Tech wanted to conduct on the inhabitants. She refused to follow their orders and instead focused on the survival of her people. As the bombs fell, she sealed the vault and ensured that everyone inside was safe from the nuclear fallout. For years, they lived in isolation, unaware of the world outside. But when the vault's supplies began to run low, Dr. Morgan knew they needed to venture out into the wasteland. With her leadership and the skills of the vault dwellers, they were able to navigate the dangerous world and find resources to sustain themselves. The third group was a space station, orbiting the Earth as the bombs fell. The crew, led by Commander Jackson, had been on a mission to study the effects of nuclear war on the planet. As they watched from above, they saw the world they knew disappear in a flash of light. They knew they were stranded in space, with no way back to Earth. But as they continued their observations, they noticed something interesting. A submarine, a vault, and a space station all survived the nuclear war. They realized that these 3 groups were the key to rebuilding a new world. With their advanced technology and resources, they could work together to create a safe haven for humanity. The space station crew used their knowledge of engineering to crash the station into the ocean near the submarine. The crew of the submarine, with their advanced technology, were able to salvage the space station and bring it to the surface. The vault dwellers, with their skills and knowledge of the wasteland, were able to provide resources and help establish a new settlement. The 3 groups, once strangers, now worked together to create a new town around the vault. They named it New Hope, a symbol of the new beginning for humanity. The town flourished, with the submarine providing protection from the harsh environment, the vault supplying resources, and the space station providing advanced technology. As the years went by, the people of New Hope never forgot the horrors of the nuclear war. But they also never forgot the unlikely alliance that brought them together and helped them survive. And they were determined to rebuild a new world, one that would never repeat the mistakes of the past. The world had been ravaged by nuclear war, leaving the Earth uninhabitable. The few remaining survivors had to find a way to survive in this new post-apocalyptic world. 3 groups emerged, each with their own plan for survival. The first group, known as the Lunar Colony, had set up a base on the moon. They were a group of scientists and engineers who saw the moon as a safe haven from the destruction on Earth. They had built a self-sustaining habitat with food, water, and oxygen, and were able to live comfortably on the moon. The second group, known as the Martian Colony, had set up a base on Mars. They were a group of astronauts who had been living on the International Space Station when the nuclear war broke out. They saw Mars as the next best option for survival, and had quickly adapted to living on the red planet. The third group, known as the Space Station Colony, had set up a base on a space station that orbited the Earth. They were a mix of scientists, military personnel, and civilians who had managed to escape the destruction on Earth and find refuge on the space station. Each group had their own resources and skills, but they all had one common goal: to find a way to make the Earth livable again. They knew it would be a long and difficult journey, but they were determined to succeed. The Lunar Colony had been working on a plan to terraform the Earth. They had developed advanced technology that would be able to purify the air and soil, making it possible for plants to grow and animals to thrive. They had also developed a way to shield the Earth from the harmful radiation that still lingered from the nuclear war. The Martian Colony had been working on a similar plan, but their focus was on creating a self-sustaining ecosystem on Mars. They had already begun to grow crops and raise animals on the red planet, and their goal was to eventually create a colony that could sustain itself without any help from Earth. The Space Station Colony had been working on a different approach. They had been sending out teams of astronauts to explore the Earth and gather data on the current state of the planet. They had also been working on advanced technology that would allow them to clean up the radiation and pollution on Earth. As the years went by, the 3 groups continued to work towards their goal. The Lunar Colony had successfully terraformed a small area on Earth, and they began to send out teams to set up a livable habitat. The Martian Colony had also made progress, with their colony on Mars growing larger and more self-sufficient each day. The Space Station Colony had made significant strides in cleaning up the Earth, and they were now able to send teams down to the planet's surface to collect samples and further their research. Finally, after many years of hard work and determination, the Earth was once again a habitable planet. The 3 groups came together to celebrate their success and to begin the process of rebuilding civilization. They had all played a part in making the Earth livable again, and they were determined to work together to ensure that it remained that way. The Lunar Colony, the Martian Colony, and the Space Station Colony had proven that even in the face of devastation, humanity could come together and find a way to survive. They had built a new world, a world that was stronger and better than the one that had been destroyed. And as they looked out at the beautiful blue planet before them, they knew that they had truly achieved the impossible. The group of survivors had been traveling through the wasteland for weeks, scavenging for supplies and trying to find a safe place to settle down. They were tired and weary, but determined to keep pushing forward. As they trekked through the desolate landscape, they stumbled upon something unexpected: the ruins of an old world city. Excited and curious, they cautiously made their way through the crumbling buildings, marveling at the remnants of a time long gone. But their excitement soon turned to fear as they realized they were not alone. The ruins were infested with feral ghouls, once humans, now twisted and mutated creatures with an insatiable hunger for flesh. The survivors quickly retreated, but not before one of them was bitten by a feral ghoul. They knew the consequences. The victim would soon turn into one of the mindless ghouls themselves. In a panic, the group raced back to their makeshift camp, hoping to find a way to save their friend before it was too late. With the help of a skilled doctor and some rare anti-radiation medicine, they were able to slow down the process of ghoulification. But they knew it was only a temporary solution. They needed to find a permanent cure or their friend would be lost forever. Determined to save their companion, the group set out on a mission to scavenge the nearby buildings for any clues or resources that could help them. As they searched, they also had to fend off attacks from the feral ghouls that seemed to be multiplying by the day. But amidst the chaos and danger, the survivors also discovered something unexpected: a small community of other survivors who had also made their home in the ruins. These survivors were different from the others they had encountered in the wasteland. They were organized, resourceful, and had managed to build a small city out of the ruins. The group was welcomed into the city with open arms and were amazed by what they saw. The city was a bustling hub of activity, with people working together to rebuild and create a new life in the wasteland. They had a stable source of clean water, a functioning power grid, and even a small farm. But the city was not without its own problems. The feral ghouls were a constant threat, and the city's defenses were not strong enough to keep them out for long. The survivors had been relying on a small group of explorers and supplies runners to venture out into the ruins and gather resources, but with the increasing number of feral ghouls, this was becoming a dangerous task. The newly arrived survivors knew they had to do something to help. They shared their knowledge and skills with the city's residents, teaching them how to fortify their defenses and protect themselves from the feral ghouls. Together, they came up with a plan to clear out the ruins and make it safe for the supplies runners to continue their work. It was a dangerous and grueling task, but with their combined efforts, they were able to rid the ruins of the feral ghouls. The city was safe once again, and the supplies runners could continue their vital work. The survivors had not only saved their friend, but they had also become a part of something greater, a community that was working together to rebuild and thrive in the post-apocalyptic world. As they looked out at the city they had helped to save, the survivors knew they had found a new home. They had found hope in the wasteland, and they were determined to do everything they could to make sure it survived. The ruins may have been a reminder of the old world's destruction, but in that moment, they also represented a new beginning, a chance for a better future in the harsh world of Fallout. Vera was a ghoul, one of the few remaining humans who had survived the nuclear fallout and were now cursed with an eternal life as rotting, mutated beings. She had been wandering the wasteland for decades, scavenging for food and trying to find some semblance of a normal life. One day, as she was exploring the ruins of an old city, she stumbled upon a feral ghoul nest. Feral ghouls were the mindless, bloodthirsty creatures that had once been human but had completely lost their minds due to the radiation. They were dangerous and unpredictable, and Vera knew that she had to do something about this nest before it caused harm to anyone. She quickly made her way to a nearby fishing town, hoping to warn the residents before it was too late. The townspeople were skeptical at first, not used to seeing a ghoul who could speak and reason like a human. But Vera persisted, and eventually convinced them to take action. The town was small, with only a handful of people living there. But they were a tight-knit community, and they were determined to protect their home. They gathered their weapons and got ready to face the feral ghouls. As they made their way towards the nest, Vera explained to them the difference between ghouls and feral ghouls. She told them how ghouls still had their minds, but were shunned by society due to their appearance. Feral ghouls, on the other hand, were mindless and driven only by their hunger for flesh. When they reached the nest, they found it teeming with feral ghouls. The creatures were shrieking and snarling, their rotting bodies covered in scars and wounds. The townspeople were initially frightened, but with Vera's guidance, they quickly got into position and started firing at the ghouls. The battle was intense, with the feral ghouls attacking from all sides. But the townspeople were determined to protect their home, and with Vera's help, they managed to push back the ghouls. They used boats to maneuver through the streets, taking out the feral ghouls one by one. Finally, after what seemed like hours, the last of the feral ghouls lay dead. The town was in ruins, but the residents were safe. They thanked Vera for her help, grateful that she had warned them and fought alongside them. But Vera knew that they couldn't stay in the town for long. The feral ghoul nest was just one of many dangers lurking in the wasteland. She urged the townspeople to pack up and leave, before another threat came their way. As they were preparing to leave, Vera noticed something in the distance. A bright, green glow emanating from the horizon. It was the glowing sea, a vast area of land that had been heavily irradiated during the nuclear war. It was a place where even the bravest of wastelanders feared to tread. But Vera knew that it was the perfect place to dispose of the feral ghoul bodies. With the help of the townspeople, they loaded the bodies onto the boats and made their way towards the glowing sea. The radiation there would destroy the bodies and prevent the spread of any diseases. As they sailed away, Vera couldn't help but feel a sense of sadness. The feral ghouls were once humans, just like her. They had just been unfortunate victims of the war. But in the end, it was either them or the innocent people of the town. And Vera knew that she had made the right choice in protecting her fellow ghouls. She continued her journey through the wasteland, knowing that there would always be dangers and threats lurking around every corner. But she also knew that she had found a new purpose in helping those who couldn't protect themselves from the horrors of the post-apocalyptic world. In the desolate wasteland of a world overrun by the undead, the remnants of humanity clung to survival within the crumbling walls of a once mighty military base. As the relentless hordes of zombies encroached upon their sanctuary, hope dwindled with each passing hour. Captain Emily Carter, a hardened veteran, surveyed the grim scene from the command center. Her piercing blue eyes scanned the perimeter cameras, watching as the undead surged towards their defenses like a ravenous tide. "We're running out of time," she muttered grimly. "We need a way out." At her side stood Sergeant Jonathan Hale, a burly man with a steely gaze. "We still have the escape plan," he reminded her. "But it's risky." Emily hesitated. The escape plan involved a daring break through the zombie-infested perimeter and a treacherous journey to a nearby safe zone. It was a gamble, but it was their only chance. We don't have any other choice, she said. Gather everyone. We're leaving at dawn. As the first rays of sunlight pierced through the shattered windows, the survivors gathered in the main hangar. They were a diverse group, united by their desperation, soldiers, scientists, civilians, each carrying their own burdens and fears. Emily addressed them, her voice echoing through the cavernous space. Listen up, she commanded. We're about to make a run for it. It's going to be dangerous, but we have to stick together. No one gets left behind. With grim determination, they loaded their weapons and supplies into a convoy of armored vehicles. As the engines roared to life, a chorus of undead howls filled the air. The zombies had detected their movement and were closing in. The convoy surged forward, its headlights illuminating the path through the swarming hordes. Zombies lunged at the vehicles, their rotting hands clawing at the metal. Soldiers fired from the gun turrets, mowing down the undead with relentless efficiency. The journey was fraught with danger. They encountered roadblocks of abandoned cars, their occupants now mindless husks. They fought off waves of zombies that seemed to materialize from every corner. Every mile they traveled brought them closer to their goal, but also closer to the edge of the abyss. As they approached the edge of the base, they realized that the zombies had overrun the main gate. A massive horde blocked their path, their fetid breath hanging in the air. We can't go through, Jonathan shouted. We're trapped. Panic threatened to consume them, but Emily refused to give up. We'll find another way, she said. They turned the convoy and searched for an alternative escape route. They found a narrow, overgrown path that led through a dense forest. It was a risky move, but it was their only chance. As they entered the forest, the zombies seemed to lose interest in them. They pressed on, their hearts pounding with anticipation. Hours later, they emerged from the other side and found themselves on the outskirts of the safe zone. They had made it. They had escaped the horrors of the zombie apocalypse and found a new beginning. As they stood together, battered but unbowed, they realized that their bond had been forged in the crucible of adversity. They had faced their fears, overcome unimaginable challenges, and emerged as survivors. And so, they entered the safe zone, their weary bodies carrying the weight of their past and the hope of a brighter future. They had endured the worst that the undead could throw at them and emerged victorious. The zombie apocalypse had tested their limits, but it had also revealed their indomitable spirit.